Hello. Hello. I got the music in me. Now I'm out of breath. How's dancing? Woo! I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Lauren. What a blessing to have you with us. What a blessing. So, my talk today is called Expanding Our Circle. And so, in addition to expanding our circle of ministers here at NTCSL by bringing in Reverend Masando, which of course we just celebrated, I want to take this idea of expansion deeper. So when I speak about expansion, I am speaking directly about evolving consciousness and the expanding beingness of bringing that which is inside, our living experience inside on the outside. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about expanding our circle. And you know, I'm very intrigued with this idea, this concept of living from the inside out. I've discovered in my own path over the years that bringing the interior life of spirit, that place of love that exists within each one of us, you know, by having the courage to express that outwardly, it creates more love. It brings more love to the planet. My sister Kelly is a master at this. She always has been from the time she was very young. She will speak aloud the good and the positive to anyone, anywhere, no matter where we are, in a store, you know, in a library, maybe a little too loud when she was little. That's okay. You know, a gas station, doesn't matter where we are. If she is thinking something internally that is positive about another person, even just someone that she's casually interacting with, she will say it out loud right to them in real time, big or small. And it's not flattery and it's not superficial in any way. She just names the beauty that she feels from others. And as an introvert myself, I have been inspired by this since she was about 8 or 9 years old, you know, because I see it as a small act of courage. So, speaking of courage, the summer going into the 8th grade, aside from my close circle of friends, I was extremely shy. It was an awkward time. Anyone? 7th, 8th grade? Just an awkward time, and the whole junior high school thing really intimidated me. And that particular summer, going into the 8th grade, a bunch of us theater kids, we went to the state fair. We had some theater thing or choir thing, and there was a point at which we had a break between our performances, and they told us, they bunched us up in a group, and they told us to go. We had free time for like 2 hours. It was back then when they would tell a bunch of junior high schoolers that you have free time for 2 hours at a state fair. Go, it was fine. Well, I was grouped into a bunch of kids. I knew a few of them, but most of them I didn't know. And so I was very nervous. And, we were told to just go explore. And so there we were, exploring the fair, which really just meant awkwardly walking around. And there was this one kid in our group who I did know, and for whatever reason, no matter all the things that he actually had, he was always asking for other people's stuff. He was always asking to borrow other people's things. It was like his 14-year-old shtick or something, and it didn't matter what it was. A potato chip, a baseball card, a book you were in the middle of reading. He would ask for a bite of your chocolate chip cookie and then a sip from your milk carton. He was that kid. And looking back, it's obvious to me now that this was a kid who was desperate for attention, who needed deep validation. Clearly, he wasn't getting it at home. But needless to say, it was annoying at the time for all of us. And, as our little junior high school group was clumsily wandering around the fair, there were silly, unspoken crushes and really awkward silences, and some of the kids were posturing, and, some of them, there was a lot of goofy behavior. A lot happens in 2 hours when you're, 14. And I remember there was a girl I didn't know very well. Sarah Owens was her name. And she was really popular. She was beautiful. She was tall. She had this very commanding presence. And I was kind of intimidated by her. She was not at all shy like I was back then. And I remember being in awe of how cool she was. She somehow seemed to have the polish and the maturity of, like a 16-year-old back then. I mean... And so I distinctly remember in all of her coolness, she had a new flavor of bubble gum. Now, some of you might remember this. It was all the rage back then. Do you remember that bubble gum that had that truly noxious burst of flavor in the middle? It was like dark goo and Bubblicious? Oh, thank you. I couldn't remember what that's Bubblicious. And it just had this, and it would be like, pineapple zest, and you would take a bite of the bubble gum, and it would just be like sugar attack in your mouth. Well, I remember that Sarah had the latest and greatest flavor, something really weird, whatever it was. And there were, at that time, only like 5 pieces of bubble gum in that pack. They were smaller then. And I remember she was chewing it as we were awkwardly all sort of, walking along. And she was talking about how amazing it was when the boy who always asked for stuff, as if almost on cue, said something like, ooh, I want to try, give me some. And, the rest of us kind of rolled our eyes. And without missing a beat, Sarah said with a huge and genuine smile on her face, well, of course, here, take 2. You can save the other one for later. It didn't even faze her. She went right into that coveted pack of bubble gum and gave this annoying kid not 1, but 2 pieces. This only left her with 1 in her pack. That was a big deal in junior high school. None of us drove or had jobs. There was no guarantee that we would have gum in our future. Sacrifice. But Sarah didn't miss a beat. And I remember seeing in that split second, that moment of compassion in her eyes. She saw right past his shtick, and she got in that moment that his need had nothing to do with that piece of gum. And in that teeny tiny instant, I still remember to this day, Sarah, a 14-year-old girl, taught me the power of what happens when you choose to come outside of yourself, to wake up and to see the need of someone else, no matter how big or how small. In that one simple, generous act, Sarah expanded the energy of our clumsy, gawky junior high school theater nerds. She transformed the energy. We all felt more comfortable. We all felt seen somehow. We all felt more sort of like we could exhale in that moment. That one simple, generous act, Sarah expanded that energy for all of us. She taught me the healing power of generosity, of expansion, of grace, of saying, of course, here, have 2. How often do we just say no? There are very healthy no's, I want to be clear, but often no is the default. Anyone? No is just kind of the automatic. In doing that, though, we miss the opportunity to expand. And it doesn't matter if the thing, whatever it is that's showing up is the size of a piece of bubble gum. It doesn't matter the size of it. So what happens if we just instead say, of course, yes, here, take 2. You can save 1 for later. What would happen if we decided to do that individually and as a community? This is the energy that we can harness in order to expand our consciousness, our beingness, our circle of abundance and generosity and kindness and compassion. And if you are a person who navigates shyness, please know that I understand that. I get it. And just know that there are multitudes of ways that you can express your particular generosity of spirit. This sacred expansion I'm talking about is directly linked to waking up to the needs of others. The psalmist wrote, "On the day I called, you answered me. You made me bold with strength in my soul." And when we feel the call to come out of our shell, to speak loudly the beauty that we see in others, the opportunity to say yes, Spirit, God, love, source energy will always support us. And not only support us, but Spirit will embolden us, will embolden our soul with strength to speak our love out loud. And that is what I am inviting us into in this expansion of consciousness this week. Speak your love out loud, my friends. Another very, very tangible way, in addition to speaking our love out loud, that we can expand our consciousness, our beingness, by living from the inside out, is to find the funny. It works every time. Find the funny, not as a way to distract from pain or deflect from challenge, not at all, but as a way to use the funny, use humor to support our healing, individually and collectively. I am absolutely certain that a big part of what we are here to do is to delight in the joy of this life. We have all been through so much this past year and a half, have we not? If you think about it, we were physically closed off for a very significant amount of time. And this naturally has an energetic impact on us. The great teacher of New Thought, Ernest Holmes, talked a lot about Albert Einstein. They were contemporaries. And as Holmes put it, when Einstein announced that everything bends back upon itself, even time, space, and light, he was scientifically and mathematically approving of what the divine intuition of the ages had always taught, that everything which goes out will come back again. He went on, "This Einstein proved, since what we push out must move in a circle, it must move back to its original position and reunite with itself. The real secret," Holmes said, "is that everything moves in circles. Everything bends back upon itself. What goes out must return." And of course, quantum physics of our day has proven this on the most granular atomic level. So as we create this intention to expand our circle, realizing that all that we bring out into the world returns to us, all the more reason to consider opening our hearts to seeing the experience of the joy that is just waiting to be discovered. There's a gal that I am friends with on social media, and she and her 3 young boys are in the process of moving, and she's got 3-year-old twins. It's a lot. And she recently posted a picture of her car. I think we have that picture. Do you see that picture? And those of you online, it's a picture of her car with mattresses strapped to the top of it. She posted that picture with the following: "True story, Cross Bronx Expressway." That's like the freeway in the Bronx. Bernalee, you're rolling your eyes. You're from there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, very good. She writes, imagine, Bernalee, you'll have a real visual then, because you know that freeway. Okay, she writes, "Cop car comes up from behind me, sirens blaring. I am slightly distracted by my wolf pack," her 3 boys. "Police officer uses his loudspeaker to announce, 'Please move out of the way. Police vehicles with lights flashing behind you.' Totally surprised, I start making my way over to the right, and then over his loudspeaker, I hear this: 'Is that a Sealy or a Serta sleeper? I'm looking for a good mattress.'" That's good funny. Come on. That's a lot of laugh emojis. That's a lot of laugh emojis. You know, I can't emphasize how important humor is in the grand scheme of things. And I'm certain that that completely shifted her entire experience in that moment, you know, with her 3-year-old twins in the back. When we experience joy and lightness of being, we immediately expand. We felt it right here in the outdoor sanctuary. Did you feel that expansion when we laughed together? Robin Williams said comedy is acting out optimism. Let's decide that we're going to act out optimism. So I invite you to seek out, to find, and to name the funny. Find the humor. You know, whether it's a Sealy or a Serta sleeper, find the joy. And in doing this, it will create expansiveness in your life because, dear God, things are serious enough. Let us create some balance by intentionally choosing to see the humor in this life. That will expand us. You know, us ministers spend an inordinate amount of time contemplating the really big life stuff. It's our job, really, is it not, Reverend Son? It's kind of our job. And as I was being with the expansion of this big life stuff, the concept of space and its vastness came to me. And as I dug into this, I found it interesting that pretty much across the board, when astronauts prepare to go up in space for the very first time, very few of them expect to spend the majority of their time while they're up there looking down at Earth. They anticipate focusing on, you know, the work of what they are literally up there to do, the business of being up there. But as a rule of thumb, across the board, they end up spending an awful lot of time looking down at planet Earth. We have a picture, John, if you could put that up, please, that beautiful image of planet Earth as seen from space. And this experience for them, more often than not, changes them. Many astronauts have reported that when they looked down on the Earth, they experienced radical shifts in consciousness, some of which can be felt, you know, deeply on emotional levels from them and promote a sense of connectedness with Earth and with one another. Emily Estefahani Smith wrote, "Many astronauts who have traveled into space report experiencing transformation. In one study, they report a shift from being self-focused and centered on their own life achievements and self-direction to self-transcendent ones like unity, one with nature, belief in God, and world peace. One astronaut said, "You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world." Another astronaut said, "and a compulsion to do something about it." From out there on the moon, international politics looks petty. This phenomenon was so prevalent that in 1987, a new term was coined for it. It's called the overview effect. It's literally what it's called, the overview effect. It's caused by a profound reaction to viewing the Earth from outside its atmosphere. This overview effect has been described by many astronauts as one of the most meaningful, if not the most meaningful experience of their lives. After spending some time in space, Ron Garan, for example, went on to establish Mana Energy Limited, which is an environmental organization that brought potable water to villages in Rwanda and Kenya. And if you happen to be a New Thought minister or are a serious student of New Thought, you will be familiar with the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which researches human consciousness, which is our gig. And it was founded by astronaut Edgar Mitchell. The good news is that we don't have to fly into space to experience the power of the overview effect, although I do hope that the recent billionaires who flew into space will have the overview effect. I'm definitely hoping for that. For you and I, though, if you have ever stood in front of an ocean or a massive redwood tree or had a numinous experience in meditation, or fallen in love, or if you have ever witnessed the birth of a baby, or the sacred and holy passing of someone to the other side of life, you have felt the similar feeling of the overview effect. It is in these seminal moments that we gain perspective of what really matters. We catch a glimpse of the majesty and the interconnection with all of life. My friends, expanding our circle means reaching out from our self-centric vantage point to a community and a world-centric vantage point. I've been thinking a lot about this. And as many of you know, my ministry has an unwavering commitment to Spirit-led social action. And within this lexicon is the crucially important area of climate justice. Yep. We have all been impacted, all of us, by the weather events, as they call them, directly connected to the global warming and climate change on this planet. The fires, the recent fires here in Oregon, and those that are continuing right now here and in California. The horrific floods that are happening all over the world. The hurricanes, etc. In the most recent record-breaking summer heat wave that we just had, it was so bad some of us even had to cut off all our hair. It was hot. All humor aside, all funny aside, it was very, very serious for a lot of people. And what we know is that disproportionately, it impacts people in underfunded communities, Black and brown communities, those who are experiencing economic injustice are most vulnerable, the elderly and the very young. Reverend Masando and I had a meeting a few days ago, and I let him know how I was feeling, and we're both very much on the same page with this and in deep agreement. I have reached out to Mike Unger. I don't know if you're here, Mike, or if you've seen my email yet, but I've reached out to him, and he helps us lead our climate action team. And Reverend Masando and I are going to be starting a talk series in the next few weeks based on a book that I will announce in the next week or so. I'm reading 3 at once right now, and it's going to be hard to pick one. But we are going to be focused not only on education, but also on solution-based content so that we can, together as a community, expand our circle from the inside out, so that we can walk our love for Mother Earth and all her people. Yes. And so, like the astronauts who see Earth with new eyes, we too can expand our lives, and we can participate in seeing this Earth and this experience with new eyes. We can participate in climate justice as a regular spiritual practice. Are you with me? Right on. It's time. We, my friends, and all of you beloveds watching online, we are together in this life. We are here to grow this circle of love, to say, yes, of course, here, take 2, save 1 for later. To actively seek out joy in this life wherever we can find it, even on a freeway. And to share the lightness of being with others as we put feet to our prayers and work for Mother Earth and each other. And so as we travel in these sacred circles, just know you are loved. We are here to love each other. We are here to participate in the revealing and the healing of not only ourselves, but each other and this planet. Thank you.